So obviously last week we opened a Pandora's box and of course we're discussing some of the national key issues affecting the nation and also the opposition in the country. Last week's conversation surrounded on the future of the Patriotic Front and of course its leadership. However, today we get back to some of the social issues that does affect the Zambians at large, ranging from the high cost of living to obviously the high cost of meal on the market. Now, obviously, a few weeks ago, we heard of FRA having been authorized by government to offload about 250,000 metric tons of maize on the market to millers, so that should cushion the prices of meal, of which we have seen ZNS obviously coming on board, and of course. Selling their maize on the market for about 150 to retailers, and the retailers are advised to be selling at 160 kwacha as well. Are those some of the permanent solutions to the high cost of melamine on the market? And what do we need to do best for us to benefit and to get the benefit out of the agricultural sector here in Zambia? Now, joining me today is a president of a political party that advocates for production. I'm talking about Leadership Movement, and I'm privileged to host Dr. Richard Silumbe in the studio on the program today. Doc, thank you so much for joining me today, and good to see you.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to the people on the platform of QTV. Thank you very much.
The last couple of months have been very difficult for the Zambian people in as far as the cost of living is concerned, coupled with the high, electricity tariffs, load shedding, and talking about the energy crisis, the high cost of energy as well. And now we are talking about the high cost of meal. Doc, where have we gone wrong as a country in as far as management of these sectors is concerned?
Well, first of all, I would want to take you back to the reason why we are in this today. Number one, we are being run as a government by a political party that spent 23 years in opposition without taking note on in terms of what they are going to do when they come into power. They did not have anything to give to the Zambian people. They thrived on handouts from foreigners. In short, they are sponsored stools to come and take over government. These are the problems that have led this situation to reach where it is today. When we look at the New Dawn government, when they were in opposition, they promised the Zambian people low cost of fuel, low cost of electricity tariffs, low cost of meal, but they did not explain to the Zambian people how they are going to lower the cost of meal. Remember, the president said when he's voted into power, he's sworn in at 10 hours. At 14 hours, the dollar comes tumbling down. These are mythical ways of dealing with economics. It does never work like that. We need a Zambia where voters should be questioning their leaders. If you talk about meal prices coming to 50 kwacha, what plan is in it for each to come to where you are expecting it to be? The problem is we are voting in power leaders who have no agenda, who have no program. Leadership movement has been clear. We need to put young people into production because we can never bring down the cost of meal with wishful thinking. We need a larger population working, doing something towards production. This is why we talk about production. We have been clear as leadership movement. We want to have state farms in every district. We become productive. We need to produce millions of metric tons of maize. And not only that, we need to have industries that produce fertilizer. When you look at the cost of meal today skyrocketing, the factors that are pushing it up are quite many. When we see the leaders from the New Dawn government saying, we don't know what is happening, maybe these millers are PF, it doesn't make sense. These are leaders who should be understanding the factors. Number one, when we are talking about meal production, we are talking about the fuel price. Someone has to transport maize to a miller. And these millers, most of them are Zambian entrepreneurs. They need to produce that meal at a high cost of fuel, at a high cost of electricity tariffs for them to run the hammer mills, at a high cost of diesel, under load shedding. You saw load shedding was rampant. these millers were using generators and all that. These are the issues. These are the factors that were pushing the prices of meal milk go up. Again,
so are you in support
let me
with the
just
facts?
finish. Let me finish
As you're finishing that one, exactly, I also want you to either agree or disagree. Are you agreeing with the exorbitant prices at which these millers are selling, the miller meal by virtue of those of those factors that you have
I've
highlighted?
not even finished some of the factors. We have talked about 3 factors. The next factor is the cost of fertilizer. This meal meal we are producing today is coming from the maize that was produced out of a high cost of fertilizer. So and again, these so-called millers, they are not given incentives that we are seeing foreigners being given, like the miners, the mining companies, foreign investors. They are given tax holidays, tax breaks. These millers are taxed. So these factors now culminate in high cost of meal meal because the cost of production has been increased. So when we hear today that now the FRA is now offloading meal meal at a very cheaper price than they are supposed to give to the millers, it's a good thing. It's a subsidy. In any way, that's a reduction of the cost of production. You talked about ZNS coming in also selling the maize. But we all know that maize, we are not running out of the stock of maize. Maize is there. But the cost of production of mealie meal, that is the game changer to the cost today. If they are getting mealie meal and they are getting maize and producing mealie meal at a very low cost, negligible cost, you would find that the cost of mealie meal would be significantly low. If these millers are given incentives such as tax breaks and tax holidays, we would expect the cost of mealie meal even going further down. But again, there is a limit to how low the cost of mealie meal would be, because largely the New Dawn government are not a productive government. We need to produce more maize. We need to produce more maize in districts, every district. We need to be productive in state farms so that we can further push the cost of mealie meal to a level 50 kwacha. How do we do that when there is abundant supply of maize and we have fertilizer being produced here in Zambia, contrary to what we are seeing today, where we are giving cadres contracts to go and buy fertilizer in Israel, in Saudi Arabia, and bring here. We have defunct NCZ, which 2 years ago was producing all the fertilizer in Zambia, and fertilizer was costing less than 200 kwacha. That is around 2-3 years ago. So these are the issues. We need to be productive. When we produce more, it means that the cost of mealie meal will be lower by virtue of having abundant mealie meal, abundant maize, and we can be exporting some of these maize. But we have neglected production. We are now dealing with a stock which is very limited, and there is looming poverty coming in the next in this season because the New Dawn government mishandled FISIP. They have mishandled distribution of fertilizer. These are the consequences that we are having. We need a new solution. What is the solution? The solution is investing in production, more maize production, investing in industries to produce more fertilizer here in Zambia. And when we do that, automatically the cost of mealie meal will not be going above 50 kwacha.
When you talk about investment in the agricultural sector, don't you think that's the reason why FISIP is there to try and help farmers grow at a larger extent, and not only grow maize but also grow soybeans and of course other seeds, in the spirit of trying to promote diversification in food production? And when you talk about production, where are you putting some of the farmers that do sell to FRA, because they are actively involved in production itself?
Definitely, we need these people to be supported. Now let's just dissect the FISIP you are talking about by the New Dawn government. Here is a group of people. They form cooperatives. They go with NRCs. 100 of them with NRCs. One person has got maybe half an hectare. The other one has 5 hectares, the other one has 10 hectares, the other one has 100 hectares. They are all bunched in one cooperative. On the NRC, there is nothing written in terms of the hectareage. Even a person who doesn't have even land where to farm, he will produce an NRC and join that cooperative. When fertilizer comes, what happens? 50 bags of fertilizer come to a cooperative where there are 100 people, and then they distribute that fertilizer equally, and a person who has nowhere to farm is getting a medal, and a person who has 5 hectares is getting also a medal of fertilizer, and somebody who has 100 hectares, they're getting medals. This is how rotten the FISIP program is, because we have leadership that doesn't understand production. Under the leadership movement, this is why we have been clear. Number one, we need to give title deeds to every Zambian who owns a piece of land. When they have title deeds, when they join a cooperative, we'll be looking at title deeds. We know that this person has got this so much land, he has 5 hectares, therefore he needs 20 bags of fertilizer. This one has got 1 hectare, he needs only 2 bags. This one has 100 hectares, he needs 100 bags of fertilizer to support his production. This is what we call production. Focusing on production based on the capacity of people who are able to produce, and not joking on FISIP. Somebody who doesn't even have where to farm, you give them a medal of fertilizer. And somebody who has 100 hectares and he has just a thatched house at the corner of that 100 hectares, because that 100 hectares doesn't even have title deeds. These people are poor, they will receive a medal, they will just till a very small land, and they'll produce 2 bags of maize and sell to FRI. We are disadvantaging ourselves. We need to ramp up on production. We need to ensure that every Zambian who has the capacity, what is the capacity? Is the land that we have. We need to give these people title deeds. And we are very sad to see that even the Zambians themselves, they accept those excuses that it is very expensive to have a title deed. And yet this is a piece of paper where your name is written, the number of hectareage, and the perimeter of the land. And yet the same people get NRCs free of charge. They get voters cards free of charge in their far-flung areas. When time comes to vote, ballot papers will be printed in Dubai, very expensive papers, and each one will be marking on 3 ballot papers, and we accept that as free. And when it comes to our self-empowerment, we believe that, oh, it's expensive, the government cannot make it. The leadership movement is ensuring that every Zambian who owns a piece of land, number one thing, when we come into power, we give you title deeds. The next thing, with your title, we'll know your capacity, and we'll avail all the support that is needed for you to grow bigger and better, whilst we are also doing our thing as government. We are going to have state farms in every district. We'll be productive. We are going to have ZNS run mines in any place where there are minerals, because it's production. Without
Doc,
that, you cannot go anywhere as a country.
Doc, are you emphasizing that FISIP has only failed under the UPND government? How about the previous government? Because this FISIP is a program that started some time back. MMD used it, the PF under SATA used it, the PF under Edgar used it, and now it's a UPND under HH. So is this FISIP project only failing under this government, or even previously it just never worked?
We are not saying that FISIP has been mismanaged. It has heavily been mismanaged under the UPND government, but it has always been a failure. It hasn't delivered much. This is why steadily the cost of meal has been growing. When the architects of FISIP started, the population was little minimum, and they could support the farmers, and the production capacity was able to support the Zambian citizenry. Now, as we go further, as the population grows, we need to change the tools. We need to change the approach to FISIP. We need to understand.
In what angles do you think FISIP has really been failing the Zambian people?
In the first place, a long time ago, Zambians used to receive more fertilizer support, and as time went by, we have seen, how the New Dawn government was distributing 10 bags of fertilizer to a bunch of 100 people. They are now sharing those bags into medals. This has never happened before, you see. And worse enough, this is because somehow the numbers have grown in terms of people who want to be supported under FISIP. So how do you now revolutionize the tool of FISIP? You need to ensure that you know the people, their capacity. when you are supporting them with farmer support inputs such as fertilizer, seed, you need to know their capacity in terms of land. How much land do they own? But you have nothing to do with land. You have nothing to do with whether the person who is in that cooperative has a farm, has a piece of land where to farm. You don't care. You just distribute fertilizer. No wonder it's failing. This is why at this time we need to use new tools, and leadership movement has the 5 beta kappa key to deal with maximizing production to the Zambian people who want to participate in farming. We need to give them land, their number one asset. When they have that title deed, they'll be able to walk into a bank, access money, buy themselves fertilizer on time, and that fertilizer, they are not going to import it. We don't want money to go outside. They'll get it from the industries that are producing fertilizer here in Zambia, and then buy seed on time. Then the remaining money, buy a tractor, which we don't produce. Obviously, they will buy at a normal marketplace and use that tractor, employ 1 or 2 young people, and till the whole lot of land and be able to produce. Under the leadership movement, FRA will not just buy maize as it has been from from Zambians. What we are going to do, we are also going to provide with transport. A person who has accessed money from the bank and he has tilled his land and he has produced 1,000 bags of fertilizer, they are going to put those bags of fertilizer on FRA tractors instead of getting selling to FRA at 150 kwacha per bag. They'll put those bags on a truck, FRA truck, en route to Congo, and go and sell that maize at 500 kwacha per bag, and get the forex from Congo into Zambia and reinvest on their land. And Zambia will be better off in that way, when ZNS will be also producing, and FRA will bank on ZNS production and increase their reserves and all that. And it's a win-win situation, because farmers will be happy. Under the leadership movement, farming will be a business because people will get profit out of it. Unlike what we are seeing today, when a farmer produces, you tell them the cost, the selling price of maize, they make a loss. They bought fertilizer at 1,000 kwacha, and you are telling them that you should sell a bag of maize at 150 kwacha. That's a loss. In the same way, we are talking about farmer support, because this land issue and agriculture is tightly linked with our natural resources, such as minerals. We have, for a long time, have been entertaining these colonial laws, which says, oh, you are illegal miners, there should be no illegal mining. Miners should have a license. Why don't we have licenses on farming? Why should a farmer who doesn't have even license, he has no certificate whatsoever, they produce, they can sell to FRA, and we build reserves for maize? And these people who sell to FRA, these are not foreign investors. Foreign investors, they grow wheat and they export. We are fed by Zambian people. So in the same way we are going to have, we have FRA, that's the same way we are going to have the Mineral Reserve Agency, so that every mineral that a Zambian who has a piece of land can find, they can dig without a license if there's manganese, and sell to Mineral Reserve Agency. And we start growing the stocks, the reserves for copper, the reserves for gold, the reserves for manganese, the reserves for all the minerals that we have, so that under the leadership movement, we are not going to have subdued leaders as we see under the New Dawn government. A leader who goes out there begging for loans, begging for whatever grants. When you have copper, when you have been independent and for years you can't even have 1 kg of copper reserves in your country, this is ridiculous. Under the leadership movement, you are going to see Mineral Reserve Agency. We are going to have stocks of copper, stocks of gold, stocks of all these minerals, and the president will go out there as a chief marketer, the real chief marketer, not a marketer with no products. We want a chief marketer who goes there and offloads 1 million metric tons of copper on the market, 1 million metric tons of gold on the market, because Zambians have been allowed finally to produce, to mine gold and sell to Mineral Reserve Agency, and we can grow the reserves, and government can offload these on the international market and be able to gain forex. That is how economies operate, that knows what they want to do and where they want to go. This is why you have seen the UK, which has no gold mine, and yet it has the biggest reserves of gold. We wonder. And when they have problems in their economy, they just offload gold on the market and they gain the forex. We have been having copper for years. We are independent and we continue to have leaders who give up on the minerals. They give foreign investors and they continue to confess on the platforms to say, we do not have capacity. There's nothing we can do. That type of colonial leadership is what the leadership movement is fighting against. We need to revolutionize the way we think, the way we take our minerals, our natural resources, so that Jerabos who are able to produce copper in Kapoto, people can just dig copper, but they don't have where to sell it. They will go to the Chinese, and the Chinese will find 50 kgs of copper concentrate and tell them, no, there's no copper here, so we are going to give you just 100 kwacha. Then that 50 kg, a Chinese will make hundreds of thousands of kwachas out of it. Gold in Kasenseri district, the same thing. We have gold at Kasisi. There is a Chinese mine there. On the other side of the mountain, there are villagers who can find gold and they have nowhere to sell it. When they are found with that gold, they will be told as illegal miners and they will be arrested. But Chinese are digging free of charge. Who gives that license? It's the Zambian government. And we have dwarfed our own people into squatters, into people who have no power in their own natural resources. Under the leadership movement, at that mountain, on the other side, there will be a gold mine run by ZNS. Those villagers who want to participate in mining, they will dig gold and they will take it to FRI, to Mineral Reserve Agents, and sell and gain something out of it.
Mr. President, currently we do have ZNS actively involved. In fact, ZNS has been actively involved in the agricultural sector. From time immemorial, ZNS has always been used. They already have farms. They always do their agricultural, produce here and there. Where is it that we are not managing that project of ZNS?
I can just correctly give you one question. Do you really think that ZNS is doing something? How much? What capacity do they
currently? Currently, there is the Eagle's meal meal that is on the market that has been offloaded to cushion these the high prices of meal meal. That is coming from ZNS.
How many metric tons of maize are they able to offload? Just a little. They can't even reach 100,000 metric tons. This is how degenerate our ZNS has become.
So what are you saying? What are you saying when it comes to ZNS? Expansion of land, giving them more land than what they have at the moment? What capacity is it that you are proposing?
We need to expand ZNS. We want ZNS to double, then triple, then quadruple, then pentacuple, grow bigger and better and produce more. This is why we're talking about recruiting 4 million young people in ZNS.
Will these young people be willing to work for free?
Definitely. They are not going to work for free. Who works for free? We are talking about production. We are talking about producing products. We're not talking about working for free. What we are saying is ZNS currently recruits young people with certificates, grade 12s, who are very weak, who have spent their time just reading, studying. They are not even massicular to handle the tasks ahead. And these are few people they recruit. And these same people, when they go to ZNS, they are just a negligible amount. This is why they don't have capacity. We want a ZNS that will recruit Zambians, whether you are educated or not educated, in millions. And today, ZNS recruits and they go for 6 months training, as we are going to expand the amount of time for training to 1 year, 6 months. That 1 year, 6 months, that is training whilst you are producing, after which they'll be on salaries. So they are not working for free. There is no agenda for using the young people for free.
So that 1 year, 6 months that you're talking about,
production,
that 1 year, 6 months production that you're talking about, these young people should not be getting anything.
They will not be on payrolls, but they will get subsidies, food subsidies. They will get meal meals, 1 bag of meal meal per month, 1 chicken or 4 chickens, carpenter and all that, just to sustain their living for 1 year, 6 months. While we are producing, whilst they are working in state farms, whilst they are working in ZNS run mines, everywhere where there are minerals, there will be mines with picks and shovels. We are digging, we are producing gold, we are producing copper, we are producing manganese, we are doing all that. And these people are sustained by food. Just like when you go to school. Who says no? When I go to the university, I cannot go to the university without being paid. How can I stay for 5 years? You are being trained, you are being educated. So
Mr.
in
President,
the same vein,
don't you think that's a reason why for a very long time, aside from maybe the gap that the PF created in between, but for a very long time students were given things like allowances in terms of cash, and that is just to make sure that you keep them in school? Don't you think that is the same principle that probably could make most of the young people that you are targeting to recruit under ZNS not to go for that 1 year 6 months training because there's no cash?
definitely they will go, and they will be in millions. Actually, we are going to have more than what you expect. Do you know how many people are volunteering in the Ministry of Health today? There are more than 500,000 volunteering. They don't get paid, they don't get anything, hoping that one day they'll be recruited. How many teachers are volunteering in schools without pay? 5 years someone has been volunteering because there is hope at the end of the tunnel. This is what we are talking about. We are talking about recruiting young people in ZNS 1 year 6 months in training, after which they are on salaries. That is very simple. When it comes to education, those meal allowances, they only afford students meals, which we are going to provide under ZNS. So that is a meal allowance. It's not a salary. Students are not given salaries, for your own information. So that again is not the thing that takes people to school. People go for free, and it's only in specific universities that we used to do that. And when I take you back, you realize that actually the University of Zambia was built out of sacrifice from the Zambian people. People donating things and building for free. They never even got paid. People are building for free. And we have the University of Zambia today. That is the spirit that the leadership movement wants to rekindle once again. A spirit of the Zambian who wants to see development, not spirit of a sellout. Sellouts. Because people have been under the New Dawn government propaganda for 23 years when they were in opposition. And they made people believe that, oh, it's just voting a government in power and then miracles starts happening. We as leadership movement, we need to tell the Zambian people the truth, that if we are to see development, they have a stake in it. You need to participate. You need to sacrifice. And together we can make it and succeed as a country. So when the New Dawn government is failing lamentably, as we have seen today, because they thought they can be 10% of them in power and fixing the economy, while 90% of young people are languishing in the streets, they have no jobs, they have nothing to contribute to the development of this country, and expecting only miracles from the New Dawn government, which has failed. And within 1 year 6 months, we have seen failure, and they are not going anywhere because they did not have the principles of development, contrary to the Kenneth Kaunda government that had principles. That's why in the first 5 years they saw so much change. We built the University of Zambia, we built Tazara, we built so many things, and they built Zambia as it is today because they were not sellouts. They didn't come into power with so many loans, campaigning, billboards everywhere. You see, Zambian people should be realizing the kind of politicians they should be following. They should not be following sellouts. You have a 30,000 kwacha worth billboard, one, and there are so many, the whole country, and expect change because these people have loans. They were sponsored by foreigners, and the same KCM's Mopani, these people were abusing Zambians under the PF, who wanted more taxes, more tax holidays. They funded the UPND, and today now they are stuck. They can't even go to the copper belt to solve the issues because the same people who are now abusing the Zambians, who have put many Zambians on forced leave, and they are digging copper, and every minute copper is going without tax because they are the ones who have put them in power. And we are paying for it, for the chitenge materials we got, for the t-shirts, and for the 50 kwachas. Whilst we are suffering, it's high time we started thinking of putting in power leadership that puts Zambia first, that is not selling its soul to foreigners. Because when we do that, we are ourselves to enjoy. We are ourselves to participate. And this is what we want to see as leadership movement. We know that for now, many young people, for instance, who voted for the New Dawn government, they've been brainwashed. We have every year producing more young people in adulthood. These are our focus, to be given a new way of thinking, a new hope for the country, where they can participate in building this country, because every Zambian has got something to contribute. Whether you are educated or not educated, you have something to contribute to the development of this country. And this is our focus as leadership movement. We want every Zambian, educated or not educated, they will be recruited under ZNS. They'll work, they will be trained for 1 year, 6 months, after which they will be on salaries. We would have produced more gold in our reserves. The Mineral Reserve Agency will be in effect and will be productive. We are going to have mines, ZNS mines, copper mines, and all these things that we want. And we are going to grow the reserves. And under the leadership movement, you are not going to see a begging government. You are going to see a government that goes out with something in their hands. We are giving out 1 million metric tons of copper to the international market, and we sell that. Money reflects in Bank of Zambia.
Okay.
We will be giving out all these things, starting from maize to Congo and all that, because we believe in production. It's production, production, production.
I'm still talking to Dr. Silumbe from Leadership Movement now. Doc, let me try to get your view on. I know you're against FISIP here, but looking at how we managed FISIP during the 2022-2023 farming season, what kind of yield do you expect for this farming season?
It will be disastrous. We as leadership movement, we project a very low yield. We project famine in Zambia. We project serious challenges, economic challenges for this country, because the FISIP was mismanaged.
Do you anticipate that Zambians, or are you looking at Zambians should be worried that we might have a food crisis?
I really don't wish to see these things, but we are worried that this is where it is pointing to. This is why we are talking. We want the New Dawn government to rethink their policy. They should focus on production, because if famine starts in Zambia, Zambians will rise against the government, and they only know one thing: when the price of mini meal go up, it means an end to a government in power. This is dangerous, and we need the New Dawn government to understand this fact and work around it, and not focus on quick fix. They need to plan. We have leaders who showed us the way, the likes of Levi Mwanawasa. When Levi Mwanawasa came into power, there was famine in Zambia, and he realized that Zambians, we don't need to stay idle as we were for a long time. In the 90s, some of us were there then. We used to see a situation where maize can only be eaten in the rain season. Once it ends, it is done until the next rain season. Remember that time. Maize was like mango, like a seasonal crop. Until the likes of Levi Mwanawasa came into power, they pressed on winter maize, irrigation, and all that. And we saw farmers being supported. They went into production, and the economy stabilized. And the cost of mini meal started significantly going down. And that was a government we are talking about. And this New Dawn government should take a leaf from there. They should start thinking today. What are they going to do in the next 6 months? This is what should be on the agenda in the Ministry of Agriculture. How do they support irrigation? How do they support winter maize to continuously pump into FRA maize that will keep this country afloat? If they wait for the next season, I'm sorry, there will be a disaster. Until we have a government that thinks production, that works production, that's when we are going to see change. Because the New Dawn government doesn't believe in production. Look at their budget. They always prioritize things that are not anywhere near. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the base there is food. You can never prioritize education or anything else before food. You need to invest in food. Then start rolling up to other priorities, other hierarchies of needs. So this is what we expect. But look at what they say when they come on the podium, on these platforms. They say, oh, we have introduced free education. Oh, now children can go to school for free. You are joking. A young child who has not eaten, there is poverty all over. How are they going to enjoy free education? How good is that free education managed? These are the challenges they have. And the sooner they realize that they are messing it all in terms of priorities, the better for this country. Because they may leave this country worse than they found it.
Okay. All right, you're still watching 411, and for now we take a very short break. We're still looking at the agricultural sector in Zambia. Food production, where are we doing it wrong? Why should we have high prices of a commodity that we produce on our own here in this country? Which areas are we supposed to work on? What is it that we should do better for us to improve in food supply on the market? All right, so those who are just joining us, definitely you can as well follow us live on our Facebook page, QTV Zambia, and of course you can also definitely share your thoughts on the topic of discussion today. Remember, my guest is Leadership Movement President Dr. Richard Silumbe. We are discussing the food security in Zambia. Where are we going wrong in as far as food security is concerned? Why are people now purchasing the commodity we produce on our own at a higher price? Mr. President, one of the questions that I've been asking most of the people during this period is, why should Zambians start purchasing maize at higher cost? Yes, I understand you gave various factors, but do those factors that you gave warrant us buying a 25 kg bag of mealie meal at 200 kwacha? And only the DNS to come in just to come and caution by putting it at 160. Should Zambians even be buying a 25 kg bag of mealie meal at 160? We grow maize. We produce mealie meal. So why?
Let me just speak in Bemba so that I think we want every Zambian to understand. Ichakubalirapo chakwe bati. Ngana tukwate ntungulushi. Ishire vula bena Zambia shawabika pantaji. Tetukube fyonsefe. Icha number one, chakwe bati, twalikwata ba New Dawn government, abatontonka nyafe, pakusapota ba muisa, instead ya kusapota bena Zambia. Ifinto fo twale chita produce, muno mwine mzambia, like fertilizer, nomba tufire tuwashita kufiaro fimbi. Nomba fertilizer, nga tureshita pali 1,000 kwacha, iya kubikazi umufundo. How do we expect the cost of mealie meal to come down? It's very impossible. Tufire tule panga fertilizer muno mwine mzambia. Tufire tule making sure ati fintu fyonse ofo tule bomfya pakusta producer mataba fya chipa olo fya muno mwine mzambia pakwe batu bunga bwa chipa olo tufire tuamba no kubomfya maka ya bena Zambia bonse fu bena Zambia tufire to participate nga tule participate te bantu fya banono ba farmer aba balinked ku government ebo bale senda fertilizer olo ebale chita produce ifinish fyala tuletera ubusanso bwapamala twalambo kuchula tatwakwate fyakulya mchalo tufire twa making sure tibonsi twabombesha tufire twakwate ntungulushi ishire bula ama priorities yabe na Zambia shabika pantaji ifyofo tatulemona muni ba New Dawn government. Ba New Dawn government balila bako nokwebati ine fuel way ila chita affect na production pantu famo ule bonfya diesel ala pakute fyalime ala michajo mtengo ukuru ngaleli mamulya ala making sure ati uli mtengo wa fertilizer na diesel abomfeshe afuili abwesha. So ifi efire chita distable ama prices ya nankane ya mealie turefa ikwa twakwate ntungulushi ishileya kunkuchita negotiate for cheap fuel twaliumfo kwe bati ba China balishita fuel ya chipa ku Russia ba India balishita fuel ya chipa ku Russia ne fyalo fyonse fya ba independent fya ba non aligned if tafyumfu ama instructions ku fyalo fimbi kuli ba muisa nangula kuli ba America atawe na imwe tule chulira pamo pantu ba Russia na tuingira mu nkondo tatulefo kumfana nabo ifwe pamo ngabe na Zambia we are non aligned tufire to akurasha to strike deal tuamba no kusenda fuel iya chipa muno mcharo entunguru shisho tufire twakwata ishire bula Zambia shaibika pantashi nombe entunguru tukwete pali inoshita nibana mwelepete abalolera fye omuntu abeba nga niba America babebe fya kuchita tababula bena Zambia babika pantashi babula ifofine abubene bamwisa bale bapere mpia abale ba sponsor ukukwata fyonse pakati mule forefi tenge mule mona na ma billboard na fyonse ebo babika pantashi. That's why nangu bena migodi koku migodi copper belt bale chula fe pantu balabe nabale chusha bena Zambia eba abulire mpia babika mu UPND twa nomba twakwata government yabula bamwisa yababika pantashi yena taifa yokutefiri fyonse tulalanda lyonse kwe bati pakuba tubunga buchipe tufe twakwata ZNS ikulu monse mu district twakwata ma state farms twalachita produce amatawa nga yafula na tule yachita produce na fertilizer yesu muno mwine mu Zambia techi tule shita obunga pamutengo ukulu so ifi efintu tule komairapo pamonga ba leadership movement tule fai kwa twakwata entungulushi isha kwe bachire tondinga pali production pantu nga tulesa produce amataba engi na bafama tule bafuirisha noti ifitwale mona bafama tuwabapera fertilizer bale akana mumatepe na mumameda nomba ni production yashani twala kwata bunga twala kwata mchalo pantu amatawa yala chepa olo bunga bwala dula na bwela so ifi efintu tufire twabomberapo ntungulu shisha bulabe na Zambia shabika pantashi kuti sha ishiba ifi yaku bomfye fintu chimone fine tule bomfye amalight bale tubepa chawo ifenga twaisa amalight yakachipa ifenga twaisa load shedding takwakabe fyonse fi tulela ndokwe bati ife pamunga ba leadership movement twalikwato yo mukuba beta uranium kuti twawobomfya mukita produce power muno mwine mu Zambia twakwata na amalight yachipa pantu nishina tukwata ma nuclear power plants fyonse fi ba new don't take bachite pantu ni bana mwelepete olo na fimbi fya kwa bati tulelekela ba mwiso bale kwata ama tax breaks na ma tax holidays lelo ba farmer besu na bonse ba entrepreneur ama Zambian businesses bena tuleba sendera mo tax ikulu bala chita production ifie fintu tufire tule monapo nentungulushi ishi ingaleta development muchalo chifire chalo lekisha paku mono kuba tu muntu wonse alikuwa tofunga sa contribute mukutwale chalo chespantansi no twakwata fiba ZNS abanono na bena bale aba form 5 na ngula ba grade 12 nama certificate nishu umuntu wonse kuti abomba mu ZNS ushene nkasu na shena shirafa kwa certificate ukuli mafe na ngula ukuchita ukusekwila fyonse efintu tufire tule tontonka nyapo ifwe pamonga ba leadership movement tulefa ukuchita recruit mwina Zambia onso uiperesha okwete amaka panna twishokwate mwina Zambia onse alikwata ichobeta titalanta alikwata ofuinga sa contribute mukutwale chao chespantashi ngani webo carpenter na ngula niwebo ula basembao kuti wabomba mzedenes niwebo bricklayer walishwe fya kubika ama bricks kuti wabomba muzedenes lero ba new don government balakwe batiwo tapale ofo winga chita mchalo chesu panta wako ate paper cha grade 12 entunguru shitukwete pali inonshita ifo pamonga ba leadership movement na tuishwe kwa chitwa startup muli talent ya muntu wonse nokuba parents to misepera pantu amaka ya misepera ngatwale chalo chesu pantashi nokukwata ZN nama ZN state farms monse ma district ukukwata ama ZNS run mines turefu hapa twakwata ama mines umukuba tatufire twalekera fe bamwisa yo tufire bonse tulesa participate mu mining tulesa produce umukuba no kusha kuli kuchiputura cha government chocho turefu tukalete ko cha mineral reserve agency pakuba atibajera bo noti atibajera bo nga bakwata copper concentrate kuya kuma Chinese ama Chinese baya mona kaita kwa aba government aishito umukuba uli wonse kuya beba fya tawe tamuli sana kopa twala mpera 100 kwacha lelo aba ma Chinese bala pangira mwe mpieshinge muli uyo mukuba baba pera turefu atwabika ko mineral reserve agency kala bombanga FRA firafini omuntu ngalima tabamwipisha pali certificate na ngula license pakusha mataba yakwe ku FRA ofona bobene bonza balefu okuchita kuitumpa mu migodi mukwimba copper na ngula mukwimba chrome na ngula manganese na ngula uranium na ngula cobalt nangula gold bakala achita efyo fyonse pani tukawapera ama title deeds panchende yabo ndabachita produce nga ni copper nga ni gold bana ku mineral reserve agency bayashitisha pamutengo usuma pakuba ati ichalo cha Zambia chirekwata ichipawo chamukuba pakuba ati twakwata nga ni copper twakwata ma copper reserves twakwata ma uranium reserves nga ni gold reserves nga twamba okuya out intungu shesu under leadership movement tashakale moneka nga bana mwelepete abatule mona bale pitana fe bale lombaisha tabakwata efi fyonse umukuba onse bali pera bamwisa ifo tulefanga twa yakufyalo fimbi twa star offload copper from mineral reserve agency o twakwata mu reserve nga ni 1 million metric tons twashitisha kuli bamwisa twasenda na forex yaisa mu Zambia nga ni gold nga ni manganese nga ni nickel nga ni copper fyonse tufire twakwata pamunga echalo no tukula pitana fe tule lomba ishafe tulefo afya malone ni twalikwata copper abana kukula bakesa tuseka after 50 years abana bakesa episho kubati ushe kwena ichalo chesu aba bantu abaliko bale lutontonkanya shani twalikwete copper ichalo chonse fyalo fyonse fyaleshita kopa ku Zambia nombe ikopa ni bana ni bale ibomfya bakesa sanga tapaba nofutu achitamo muri kopo twakwata bakesa sango kwe bati bachitafe inheriting kongole osho bale kongola konse okubulelo twalikwete omukuba ifyofo tatulefa apa monga ba leadership movement pantule tontonkanisha kwa abana n'abana kukula n'abana babo tulefu afyonse tukachite fix pakubata bena Zambia bakale kwata motach mumukuba wabo tukale imba kopa tukale running ngani bamwisa bafire balalipira tax according nofu bafire okulipira not if to abapera liwe balesenda kopa without even paying tax.
So, Mr. President, as we wind up, I want to find out from you. We have seen FRA taking a bold step to, through government authorization, obviously, to offload on the market about 200, and they've been given a go-ahead to offload 250,000 metric tons of maize to millers, just to cushion the prices of maize. On top of that, ZNS has come on board to supply maize, cheaper maize on the market for about 150 kwacha. Are these some of the permanent solutions to the food crisis, the prices of food that is on the market at the moment?
At the moment, we know that ZNS doesn't even have the capacity to cushion this price for even, let's say, 2 months. We know that ZNS is very small, doesn't produce so much. So this is just a quick fix and it will never go anywhere. It's a short-term program. We know that FRA, it is offloading that mini meal. Very soon, this is January, February, we are going into March, April, May, they'll have their reserves finished. So this doesn't warrant any solution, any long-term solution. The only long-term solution we should be seeing from the New Dawn government is getting back to the ground, looking at creation of state farms, looking at production of winter maize, helping those farmers who can engage in winter maize production, providing them with the support they need. If it means more production of fertilizer under NCZ and more productivity here in Zambia, contrary to these policies we are seeing, where we are just focusing on things that don't even make sense, things that are non-priorities, instead of focusing on the issues of food. Abantu nga bachula mwalishwa pamalofu paba. There is no government that has ever survived nisha abantu balechula ubunga na budula na fyonsefu. Very soon they'll be rooting, and should that happen, that will spell the end of the New Dawn government, and we don't want it to reach that far. We want the New Dawn government to get into action, swing into action, look at the farmers, support the Zambian farmers into more productivity, getting into winter maize, helping even ZNS to grow bigger and better. This is why we're talking about recruitment of more young people into ZNS, more productivity. With that, we are laying a foundation for a long-term solution to poverty. Without that, for sure, very soon, in April, we are going to see again a skyrocketing of meal prices. Then it will be shortage of maize. FRA had already distributed all the maize, and it will be more disastrous than what we are seeing today.
Well, Mr. President, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming through today. And of course, I hope to host you very soon in the future.
Thank you very much.
I've been talking to a leadership movement president, Dr. Richard Silumbe, on the issue of food security in Zambia. And of course, what is it that we need to do better for us to improve on the supply of cheap food to the Zambian people? Until next time, it's bye-bye and God bless.